I've been here for 5 years and I've owned 5 businesses in 5 years. And I started giving back to the community. So I started asking myself, what should I do? I started browsing ideas. Then I'm like, podcast. I'll start a podcast. I won't be able to teach the audience because I'm not expert, not qualified to help anyone. But what I can do is ask bold questions to qualified people. And I'm going to ask, how did you make your first million? Because this is credibility. The purpose of this podcast was from the beginning is giving value and giving back. Because I felt like I owe this community. What was your first success? And did you ever think that you'll accomplish it?
Ever, or just like an entrepreneurship?
Everything. Like, by example, you were 15 years old and something happened, holy shit, success. Or you're 25 or you're 40 and you just accomplished something and you never thought that you could do it.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll start.
Mine, I slept with my teacher. Teacher.
Teacher.
I'm not white, bro. I'm Arab.
You're talking about women again? Come on, man.
You started it.
I'll start. One thing as a kid, I was watching TV a lot as a kid and watching sitcoms and sports. And when I started building my brand, I started getting to hang around with celebrities and people that I would see on TV. And some were some of the people that were on some of the sitcoms when I was a kid. And so for me, I still get like just wigged out a little bit when I get to hang around celebrities. And, so I think that's for me. I never thought that I would get to hang with some of the people that I saw on television. I think back in the day we had 3 channels. We didn't have cable at first. And so television for me was something that wasn't real. And then now the kids today, I mean, you can see stuff on, on your phone and everything. But for me, it was just hanging out with like people that I didn't really think were real. So I think that's my first account. I mean, I have many, but that's one that just came to mind.
And now that's how we feel being around you.
Oh, thanks.
I mean it. Personally, I mean it.
I came in here like, Sarah!
On your knees.
I'll throw an answer on that one. I think that, and not to give a specific one, but just in general, my biggest successes come when my belief system changes. And we all have a belief system that we roll with, right? You were mentioning earlier how you like to do something kind for someone every day, right? That's a belief system now that you've built in, and you see opportunities to do something kind to someone. If you wake up with a belief system that you're going to be successful, that the day is going to be for you. We were at a conference today where a couple people mentioned this. They're like, my life is manifesting better and better every day. Mm-hmm. And if you have that belief system, you wake up, you will find what you're looking for. When I coach Little League and soccer and football and all these things, one of the things that is the most crazy is you have these big goals and these little kids that cannot move very fast. And yet every time someone comes to score on them, they kick the ball right to the goalie. And instead of kicking it into the open space, you're like, what is going on? It's because their belief and their focus is on the problem, not the opportunity. And so they'll kick the ball to the goalie every time. And so my biggest successes in life have always come when I allowed my belief system to shift and to believe what was coming. I believe AI is going to change everything. I believe that it's going to challenge what we believe life is. I believe it's going to challenge all of the things about value, everything, where we make value, where we do everything. But the thing is that you still have a choice of how you act. And right now, the biggest opportunity if you want to make money is to make sure you're incorporating AI into everything you do. It's the best mentor you could possibly find on getting stuff done at the highest level. And if you want to succeed right now, go be using AI. I've got my 15-year-old son. He spends at least a couple hours a day on AI, and he's running 3 businesses. I homeschool him. Wow. And
Let me just add to that real quick before somebody else goes. So I think AI, and just like with everything that we have access to or the opportunity, it comes with a decision.
Yeah.
Do we want to do good with it or do we want to do bad with it? And then
Spider-Man.
And so if we just break it into a binary decision, AI is going to be an opportunity for people to do a lot of good, but then there's also going to be those that are unethical and are going to choose the way to use it for connection or comfort or just, evil. Mm-hmm. But there's others that, like Chip says, I mean, it's opportunity to make money or serve and make impact. And I think if we could just get enough people understanding, like, hey, let's use this for impact, it's going to be obviously
yes.
So
yes.
Yeah. When you asked that question, the first thing I thought about was back when I was going into college, and it was the first moment it's the first time I remember thinking that like doubling down on myself was the way to go. And what I mean by that is I I was very smart in high school, but I loved to sing. So again, coming from a Lebanese family, my dad wanted me to be a doctor. Like I had straight A's and like all this stuff. And he wanted me to be a doctor or go to law school or do whatever. And I was like, Dad, I want to be a singer. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, no way. And he was like, they talked about this at the conference today. They're like, well, what if that doesn't happen? Like major in something else. And then if that doesn't work, then you have something to fall back on. And I remember being 18 and thinking, no, because then I'm giving myself options and I don't want options. Like, I just want to sing. That's it. So it was the first time that kind of defied my parents. And I was like, no, I'm going to college and I'm going to get a music vocal performance degree. And that is it. And I just doubled down and I did.
Wow.
And I went to college and I got my degree in vocal performance. And the first 7 years of my professional career were as a singer. So I used to tour around the world singing and dancing.
You gotta sing for
And
us.
she's gonna sing next.
Is that what happened?
Does that lead in?
and I remember like then I was making money and like all this stuff. And I remember my dad would come to every show though, even though he didn't want me to be a performer. And I remember he started to like get really happy and excited about it and be like, oh, like, I love that note that you hit. And I think that was the first time that I felt accomplished. And because I just doubled down on what I thought I can do. And I didn't give myself any options. And that's what I did. And the only reason why I pivoted is because I realized that I loved to educate and influence. And music was that tool for me. And then from there, I was like, oh, I can pivot it in a different way.
Love it.
Yeah.
I have two answers for this question. First, when I was 7, I went with my friends to the river and we catch crabs. The crab,
Yeah.
And then I sold them all in 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
I felt so good. I put the pricing, I priced the mother more expensive than the men for some reason. And then there's babies, I sold them for cheap. And I was 7. So that felt like success.
Yeah.
But actual success was like a couple of years ago. I made, and I'm not to flex to the audience, I made $100K in 2 hours.
Damn.
Wow.
And I never thought I will be able to do this. I'm always the C student if I cheat. I passed school, but I cheated every single class. So I never thought I could do it. And if you're out there and if you dream of something and you say, oh, no, that's just a dream. No. You can actually do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yes.
That's my answer.
Good.
No, that's really funny because I am like the opposite from you. Growing up, I barely made it out of high school because I started drugs young and like it was just really bad. Dropped out of college the first time. Biochem as an Asian is like the biggest disgrace to my parents. They didn't find out I was a college dropout like 5 years ago. Where's all your money coming from? I was like, I'm never gonna explain that. But so I thought that's what success meant, and being trapped in like the Orange County bubble where everyone just had money and external success. That's what I thought I was chasing. And honestly, like when I was thinking about it, I was like, what is success and how do I define it? I never defined it. That's why I left myself with way too many options in my 20s, is that I did everything, right? And for me, I think I never felt success like internally until this year. Like once I was like in my mid 30s, I stopped having like midlife crisis, as I called them, like multiple times, existential crisis, whatever you want to call it, because I didn't have calling or purpose in life, because I lived out of ego so much. It's just about me. I never helped anyone. It's like, fuck you, I'm going to get money. And I shut out the world for so long, and I just became that version of myself that I thought was great, that was successful. But it wasn't until now, like till this year, to where I opened up and led like from the heart and met people and actually did good business with good people, not the kind of shitty people that I used to think was successful with all their cars and all the money and all the, all the girls, all the drugs. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm fucking cool. So from the kid that like used to get beat up in high school and all that stuff and almost never made it out of high school, I was like, oh, I fucking made it, but I never thought of it like, hindsight's 2020. So now I'm like living what I never thought I could feel. Is that like, maybe it's like proud, like I wake up proud of my life. I'm very grateful for it, which is a feeling I never stepped into, is that I was never grateful because I was like a little piece of shit outside. I was just like all about myself, and it's like me. And now it's like, how do I be of service to people? How do I serve you? How can I connect you? How can I help you? Who do you need, a connection to that can make you a better person?
She's the reason why we're all here.
Right.
I invited her. I didn't invite anyone else. I invited her. And now we have 2 rounds podcast. So I'm a witness of that. And thank you. I appreciate you for this. Like I wouldn't have been able to gather all these amazing people if it wasn't for you. So thank you.
She walks into a room And she is one of those spirits that says, here you are.
Yeah.
That's right.
Instead of here I am. And it was beautiful. Like connecting with you is so
You're gonna
beautiful.
cry
So
again, Chip?
I always cry, okay? So
I
to
love it.
hear
I
your
love it,
story, to hear your story is fantastic. I
I'm
wanted
going
to
to
just,
cry from my story.
yeah, I was about to cry for your story. So
Give him a
I
tissue.
wanted to just touch on your cheating and well, first on the crabs.
Cheating?
So
School, okay.
so
I
crabs.
thought you knew.
So
It's just a joke. It's just, I don't even have a
it's just a joke.
girlfriend. I don't even have a girlfriend.
Anybody who works with crabs knows that if you put one crab in a bucket, it can get out. But if you put two crabs in a bucket, they won't get out because they'll pull each other down. But if you'll never have a crab that will pull another one up, right?
That's powerful.
And so if you are being pulled down, realize that it's somebody below you that is conflicted with what you're achieving.
Yeah.
And the other part of that I'll say is on cheating. Cheating can only happen if there are rules. And who created the rules, right? I believe that most successful entrepreneurs cheat the rules that were made for them.
Yeah.
The rules say go to school, get educated, go get in debt, go get a job working for somebody else that cheated to get to where they are. So to me, cheating has a whole different meaning on how you look at it.
That's
Don't
right.
cheat in school, but
Don't cheat on your wives.
We're not promoting that message at all.
but just understand where the rules come from and understand that you can challenge the rules and you can change the rules.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to rip on a couple of things that you said. Initially, you were talking about I was chasing this image of success that you thought was success, and it's amazing how from the outside something can look so attractive and like it's going to be great, but once you achieve it or you're in it, it sucks. It's like you're dying inside. So I wanted to resonate on that, and also the same thing where you were doing everything for yourself. I have a quote that just kind of describes my life. I could never understand the pain of another person because mine was always greater. And so because of that, I was always like very self-centered and like going after things for myself. And really just that shift of focusing on others has really made a big difference. To give a quick story of my big success is I'm also a first generation immigrant. I came when I was young. And I come from a very poor part of a very poor world. So when I moved to the US, where, I mean, it was just amazing, like how much, I don't want to say wealth that was here, but just how much access people had to nice homes, nice cars. Like where I come from, if you dropped your wallet, that was it. But here, if somebody dropped their wallet, somebody would go out and try to find who it was. You know, in my school, I had my own desk, construction paper, all of this stuff, where I just assumed the people here were just smarter, better than me. And it could never be other way. And so I felt really insecure about myself and what I could do, and that I would have to work harder and I would still be below most people. But after graduating college, I passed the CPA exam. It's considered one of the most difficult certification exams at the time and had a 15% first-time pass rate. And when I passed it, I was like, okay, like I achieved success. And for me, I needed this foundation where I needed a fallback to be able to do the bigger things. And the CP always was. Like, it's like I could go out and take risks because if things worse got to worse, I could always find a job as an accountant. So for me, that was like a really big success. And I totally forgot about it until you asked that question. So I'm really glad you did.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I don't have more questions. I have a request. You can send me the invoice. I want each one of you to give the audience an advice. And this audience, usually my audience, are people who wants to get there. They really want it, but maybe they hit a plateau. Maybe they're going through something in their lives. They're going through a challenge, and they're maybe giving up, and I don't want them to give up. What would you tell them? What's your advice?
I know that advice. Wanting doesn't equate to having.
Say it again, please.
Wanting doesn't equate to having. Just because you want something doesn't mean you'll take the necessary steps to go after it. That's because the part of the brain that creates wants works separately from the part that gives a green light to go after that want. So if a person is stuck, it's because they might want something, but there's a part of themselves that's holding them back. And it's really important to understand and work on that part that's holding themselves back, because that part doesn't give up unless you address it. So it doesn't matter how much motivation, inspiration you have. If you're not dealing with this part, then it's going to constantly like stop you. In fact, I say that resistance will work against your efforts until the day you die. So unless you're dealing with your stuff, like, you know, you talked about your challenges, that part will always be working against you. But there's one simple trick that I found to be really effective, and it took me 15 years of writing a dozen books and traveling to 100 countries to hone it down to this one statement, and it's, I'm a do-it-now person. I do things now. I finish things right away. If a person can repeat that on a daily basis, they will be naturally starting to take more action, and the more action will lead them to the progress that we seek. And this is a mantra that I'm always repeating all the time when I'm in the Uber, when I'm taking a shower, cooking. I'm a do-it-now person. I do things now, finish things right away. And that has made such a profound shift from where I was like really lazy and always trying to push myself to and get myself to do something. By just changing my dialogue, it was just like naturally happening.
Nice.
Thanks.
Love that.
Who's going next?
I'll go. So, two things real quick.
Say it again?
Yeah, two things real quick.
I just love making jokes.
we all have insecurities, right? And I think what changed.
We don't. We're Lebanese. It's a joke. It's a joke.
No.
They're gonna kill us.
We all have insecurities, and I think everything changed for me when I started like realizing what the insecurities was what made me different.
Yeah.
And leaning into insecurity. So I think, you know, I'm always talking about becoming that one. And I think if really you lean into your insecurities, what you think makes you different or weird, maybe what you got bullied, you know, for as a kid. Once you lean into that, it becomes your superpower.
Yeah.
And allows you to become that one. And the people that become that one are the ones that are successful, that stand out. And it's not comfortable. It's scary going out on a limb. But that's where you win, man. So that's number one. And number two, I love what you're saying about I do it now, because too many people start something and then they have incomplete cycles.
Yeah.
Incomplete cycles start to create chaos in your life.
Oh, yeah.
So what I would recommend everyone doing is find out what cycles you have incomplete in your life, what you started, you didn't finish or end, and complete cycles. Clear up all the incomplete cycles in your life. It'll eliminate the chaos and confusion, because it's impossible to be successful when there's chaos and confusion.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys are so deep and profound. I think I'm gonna go a little bit like kind of dark, but I think how it's not really life is short, but it's the longest thing you'll ever do. You know, and I think for me, the most relationship that you'll ever have is with yourself. But most people are so out of touch with themselves that they don't know how to introspect and go within to find out and connect to the parts of them that's been hurting and that's been hiding all of these years. So they live lives of lies. So for me, what's really important that I've done for my life that was really hard for me to do is on my 30th birthday, I wrote my own eulogy. So it's something that's really hard for you to do, but write down, you can make it, you know, it's like if you can leave your body and leave your own existence and be at your funeral, what are people and who's going to be there? What are they going to say about you? Are you living a life of significance? Are you doing things that matter? Are you doing things that are going to be a contribution to somebody else?
He's gonna cry.
I'm not crying, but I am.
That was
His upper lip is going there.
So I think, yeah, so I think for me, like the most important thing you'll ever do is get in touch with your mortality and just understand that we're here, you know, like it's not an infinite amount of time, right? The things that you do, the things that you leave, people talk about legacy and impact, but they have no idea what that looks like for them. So if you want to create something to leave behind, that's great. Like go write a book, go do something, but put your heart out there and just let somebody, you know, just read whatever it is. Like either if you're a singer, if you're a writer, if you're a podcaster, whatever moves you through conversations. I think that's the best thing I've ever done for my life is gotten in touch with my mortality and wrote myself that letter. So every 5 years I try to write a letter to myself and I reflect on that. It's like, am I living to this person? Like if I'm going to have a tombstone that says, what's a good friend, a good wife, or whatever, am I living truly to those values of that's like, am I deserving of that? You know, so you get to earn your tombstone. It's not going to be your bank account. It's not going to be like, oh, X amount of millions of dollars. Like that's not what you leave behind. It's the memories to yourself, of yourself, to your family, and the things that you create in this world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I made it through the whole thing without crying, but I almost went. I will say, like, the thing that I would say here is you have to suck to soar, right? So embrace failure. Change your belief system around failure. Failure means that you're taking action and you're moving. right? The only real way to fail is to not do it. Like
Yeah.
your first podcast probably wasn't as great as this one. I mean,
5 views.
This is probably the pinnacle, right? But
That's right.
But right, like we
can't get better than
we
this.
suck first. Like the first book's not as good as the fourth.
Oh, yeah.
The first time you hit the ball is not as good as the next. And just keep swinging, just keep swimming as
Yeah.
it goes, right? And the other thing is find people that are doing and being what you want to be and
Yes.
spend time with them
Yes.
and learn from them. But get them doing it now. Gregory talked about this today, about you don't want someone who is doing what you want to do now, who's doing it 30 years ago. The world is changing quickly. Find somebody who's doing now what you want to be doing now and find ways to be at the table with them.
I love that.
Awesome.
I'm just going to share what worked for me when I was at my lowest, and whatever golden nugget you can take from it. But when I had $100 in my account, my second parent was passing, I really was at my lowest. These 3 things worked for me. The first is gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Every single day I would pray to God, even when I was like, I didn't feel thankful, but I knew that I had to show in myself and manifest that gratitude. Like when I was at my lowest. A lot of times we show thanks or gratitude when things are amazing. And then when things get dark, it's like we completely forget about the greatness and like the higher being that is still there. So that was really powerful for me. And every single day, it's the first thing I do when I wake up is pray. The second thing that I think is really important is cultivating self-confidence over and over and over again. It's the number one challenge that professionals deal with. 83% of professionals say their number one challenge is self-confidence. And I'll tell you right now that if you don't feel enough, nothing will ever be enough for you. No job, no amount of money, no spouse, no relationship, nothing will ever feel enough. And you're always going to go through life thinking like, I've done all these things, and yet I still don't feel successful. It's because that inner belief has to be cultivated first and foremost. And the third thing that was really important for me, especially when I, again, was at my lowest, is really, and you talked about this earlier, clarifying your values and then sticking to those values. Because if you don't have values and you're not clear on who you are and what you want, you're going to live a life of chasing. And then before you know it, your life has passed you and you never got to where you want it to be because you didn't sit down and ask myself, what are my top 3 values? What matter to me the most? I'll tell you right now, my values and the things that matter to me the most, it is rock solid. No person, no thing, no amount of money can break that. If it doesn't fit, it's really easy for me to say no. And if you don't have that structure, you're going to constantly say yes and then wonder why you said yes.
Good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, I'm left to the end. The guy who's thick in accent. I barely know a couple English words. And see, there you go. And you leave me to the end after all this gold. I got 2 advice for you. Until you get to know yourself and what you can serve, not what you can get, you won't get there. So the sooner you get to know yourself and what you can serve, the better. The second advice, achieving the easy is uneventful. Achieving the impossible is celebratory. So go after it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.